I am excited to see you. Oh. Hello. Welcome to the live. Pretty sure that um, everybody that is actually on my regular Facebook probably already knows, but today has been a very, very stressful day for me. Um, a friend of mine actually is going through a lot, so I have been trying to step in and help. Um, I have candles going for protection and all kinds of things. Here probably isn't really the best place to get into it, so we'll just leave it at that for now. But this is part two of religion versus spirituality, and I think we did a pretty good job last time of kind of giving you the basics and why it's important to have a balanced view of both. And mainly tonight, what I want to do is discuss the importance of not judging somebody else based on their religion or their belief system. The world today is kind of a scary point. Not scary in that our beliefs are prosecuted or persecuted, but scary in the aspect that there's a lot of disagreement happening and not a lot of respect happening. So, it is my opinion, as these lives generally are, that we as a people need to try to come together and try to instill more respect when it comes to these issues specifically, but all issues in the big picture of things. I am very hopeful that anybody following me or anybody engaging in these lives will understand that it's probably not going to be beneficial to the human race to degrade or belittle anybody's feelings or thoughts on these issues or any other issues. Human kindness goes a really long way, and to me, I feel like maybe that's kind of been pushed out of the view a little bit, and that's a problem for me because speaking just for myself, I know that I have been shamed for things. I have been called a devil worshiper. I have been told that my sexuality is not okay. I've been shamed for that. Um, yeah, it. So I know what it's like to have people be harsh and critique the way that you want to live your life, and that's not a fun thing to have to go through. Um, and as long as you're not putting anybody else at risk or harming anyone else, I really don't see why it's anybody else's business. That's just my personal point of view, and other people may not feel that way, which is fine. I'm not going to jump down your throat because you think that it's okay to judge other people. However, I will voice my opinion and say that I wouldn't personally do it. I think it's unbecoming. I feel it is inappropriate, and I would be ashamed if I did that. So that's just me. You don't have to take what I am saying as fact. Obviously, do your own research. Look into things. Look it up. If you feel like you're not getting the correct information, find the correct information. Find the information that is best suited to you, to your life. And that's just kind of point blank what I wanted to say about that. Um, Sorry, I'm a little distracted tonight. It's been a really hard day. It really has. Um, yeah. Human kindness. Everything goes back to that. If you can be a kind human being, then you are above and beyond some of the people out there. There's a lot going on in the world today, which kind of, I don't know, can go to politics, it can go to the racial tensions, which I'm not going to get into that at all. It's not my place, so I'm not going to. Oopsies. Knocking everything over. Sorry, guys. Um, my personal issue with judgment kind of goes back into that whole, oh, you worship the devil kind of thing, or, oh, you can't love who you want. I've been very outspoken about being part of the LGBTQ or TBQ, I can't ever remember what it is, that family. And if you're not, that's okay. But don't come to me expecting me to welcome judgment. That's not going to happen. It will never happen. Not with me. Um, it just it makes me sad that people don't really consider how they're making other people feel. And yeah, it's just no good. No bueno. So that's that. Uh, religion. Religion can be a very all encompassing term. And like I said yesterday, spirituality and religion are not the same thing, but they are very similar in that it involves the acknowledgement of something higher than oneself. And they are different because, generally speaking, spirituality is a very free form. You don't have to have a deity. You can, but you don't have to. Whereas religion is the worship of a deity or many deities, and it's very organized. Um, I don't practice an organized religion per se. I am pagan, so I don't have a deity, but I do have a way of worship. I have a connection to nature, so my way of worship is to connect with nature and commune with nature, and um, yeah, so that's my practice. But there are other people that do practice like Christian witchcraft. It's a thing. I promise you, it's a thing. Go look it up. Um, they do a lot of nature work or energy work, but they do also observe that the Christian God is their deity. Um, there are people that worship Lilith or Baphomet. That's like the satanic temple type worship. But there's numerous, countless different ways to observe either religion or spirituality. Um, there's no one right way, which we learned yesterday. You know, a lot of people grow up learning that, whether they're religious or not. That is one of the things taught in a lot of different faiths. That there's no one right way to have a relationship with God. So you can really take what you will from that. It's important to keep a balance on these two concepts because when you don't, it can lead to a lot of really negative societal impacts. So, um, the Crusades and the witch trials, which going back to yesterday's live, those are some topics that we touched on. Um, and then internally, how does it affect the individual? How does it affect each person in and of themselves? How does it affect the way they see themselves, the way that they see other people? It can help to have a balanced religious, spiritual connection there because if you don't, then the chances that people are going to start losing hope and stop conforming to religious beliefs or conforming to spiritual beliefs is actually really high. And it's kind of a negative influence on ourselves because when you don't feel spiritually or religiously fulfilled, you may lose your positive outlook. Now, that isn't to say that you can't have a positive outlook if you're not religious or you're not spiritual. That's not at all the case. You can absolutely have a very positive, oh, outlook of yourself and others, even without those things, as long as you have respect for those things. So when people don't respect other people's beliefs or their observances, it can create a lot of hostility, a lot of negativity, and that's kind of counterproductive. If we are going to respect other people, we need to do that all the time over everything, not just certain things, not just what we agree with, right? And I think that that's why the world is in the state that it's in right now. Um, there are things that are right, there are things that are wrong. Obviously, murder, very wrong. Kidnapping, very wrong. I'll say that louder for the people in the back in case they're listening. Very wrong. Yeah. So, um, it's one of those things where we as human beings need to determine what we will accept and what we will not accept. And for myself personally, I will not accept somebody being hostile or being hateful or judgmental to me. I won't. I'll walk away because I'm not going to let my my zen, my safe space, my personal happiness be invaded by something I don't have time for. Um, and that doesn't mean that those people aren't important. It just means that I don't have time to engage with it. So if you take personal responsibility for who you let get under your skin, which I have not always been the best at that, I'm still human. I'm still learning, and that's okay. Um, but if you take personal responsibility for that, the chances of the things that get under your skin affecting you are much less. Once you realize, like, you don't have to conform one way or the other, or either way at all, you can still respect people that do. That will give you a whole different understanding of yourself, of your beliefs, of your religion or your spirituality or your pagan practices, if that's what you're into. Like, it took me a really long time to realize that the reason people were able to affect me the way that they were is because I allowed it. it took me a really long time to come to terms with that and accept that and take control of that. So don't let small mindedness or judgment get in your way. Don't have time for it. You don't have to have time for it. That's okay. So yeah, this one isn't going to be as long as last night's. Last night's was my my big one. That was the one that I put a lot of research into and really took a lot of notes on. And I am always here. If anybody has questions about any of the topics that I go over, please feel free to reach out. I am happy to explain myself or let you know, like, the sources that I used or kind of give you why I feel how I feel about it, about any topic really that I put up on here. With everything, keep in mind that these live streams are mainly my point of view. Um, I do sometimes include other objectives or other perspectives on these topics, but generally speaking, it is from my experience. Um, and that's just how I run things here. If anybody wants to, come on and do their own thought process, I am welcoming that. Like, that's fine with me. As long as we are respectful of one another, I have no issues with that. Um, I'm going to leave you guys kind of with a quote. Um, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And that's Edmund Burke. I feel like that can go to a lot of different things. But it's sitting in my mind right now mainly because there's a lot happening right now. And I feel like there are a lot of good men doing nothing. Good men, good women doing nothing. And that's unfortunate because it's only going to further divide the human race. It's not beneficial to anyone. And as we discussed yesterday, greed, power, politics, those are the reasons that people try to conquer or take over. And I have seen a lot of practices that are not so great right now, today especially, mainly legal, but it breaks my heart a lot. It really does. It's not right and it's not fair. And it's a shame because we as people should not stand for oppressive or unfair I don't have the word for it right now. We shouldn't stand for things that we know aren't right. And a lot of people aren't doing anything. And they could be, but they're not. And it's kind of a shame. I am all for social justice, like really all for it. I will put myself out there, even if what I am saying isn't getting the response that I want. I'm still going to stay true to what I believe. And I think that a lot of people are very quick to give up on what they believe in order to obtain what they might want. And I see that happening a lot right now. And I just wish that people wouldn't give up on what they know to be right or what society knows to be right, or fair or legal or acceptable. And it breaks my heart. So hopefully, as people continue on this path of life, we have some people that'll stand up and say, you know what, this isn't okay, and we're not going to take it. This isn't okay, and you can't do this. You can't oppress these people. You can't look the other way on this. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at tonight. That's where my head's at tonight. If you can't tell, I'm really not in a frame of mind like I was last night. So, sorry about that. Sorry that has taken over my life. But, yeah, if anybody has any questions on anything, feel free to reach out. If you have perspectives that are different from the ones that I laid out in my videos, then please feel free to reach out. Feel free to comment. Feel free to, any of that, that's fine. I really just wanted to open a discussion about it. I think that the more knowledge we have as human beings, the better equipped we are to deal with things that are unfair or not right. It helps us to see things from all perspectives and not just one perspective. And I think with understanding and education or knowledge, it becomes easier to accept that other people have that belief. And even if you don't, you tend to respect that a little bit more once you know where they're coming from, which is why these Fun Fact Fridays exist. That was my whole point in making these, was to kind of get information out there so that we witches, we pagans, we mystics are not seen as malevolent or negative, because we're not bad people. I mean, I'm not a bad person, I don't think. If you think I am, go ahead and, comment that too, that's fine. I try really hard to be open about everything. I'm pretty much an open book. If you have questions, hit me up. I will do my best to answer them in the most complete and most easily understood way possible. So that's the live for tonight. I gotta call it in. Thanks for dropping in. This is Miss Linz the Mystic at the Magical Menagerie. Stay magical, friends.